let's dive into our first story. This is a court ruling regarding a traffic accident where only 2 out of 3 drivers involved in the crash were found guilty.
So this is a message about driving safety and traffic safety. So 3 drivers faced manslaughter charges under the Traffic Accidents Act from an accident that happened in Cheongju 4 years ago.
Yes.
Only 2, however, were found guilty, sentenced to 5 million won fines each, and the 3rd driver was found not guilty. So here's what happened. This was a very extensive accident. It happened on February 27, 2021, early morning, a little past 6 a.m., but this is in the middle of the winter, so 6 a.m., it's still dark. Keep that in mind. So 3 drivers, they each collided into a cargo truck at different times, ultimately resulting in the death of the cargo truck driver.
Yes.
But the cargo truck was involved in a separate accident prior to all of this, so it was stopped in the middle of the road with the driver who wound up being the victim outside the car. This is the first important traffic safety message. When there is an accident, if you cannot pull the car over to the shoulder, you really, the driver, everybody in the car needs to exit the car as quickly as possible and get out of the way of the traffic.
Okay.
So what happened is that now the first vehicle crashed into the cargo truck. This apparently led the cargo truck to kind of tilt over and fall on top of that driver who was outside the truck.
Okay.
4 minutes following this, the 2 other drivers each crashed into the cargo truck in separate incidents.
Okay, so let's go back to the original premise. Why were only the first 2 drivers found guilty?
So timing and how these 2 are driving, they all played a key factor in the ruling. So that was a failure to abide by the duty to be cautious. So basically, the duty to drive carefully. Because the first driver, it turns out, was what we colloquially say riding on the tail of the car in front of him. So he was driving very close to the car in front of him, just about 37 meters. And when you're going on an expressway, that is not a long enough distance.
Okay.
So when the car in front of the first driver changed lanes, this is when he kind of for the first time saw that there was a cargo truck stopped in the road in front of him. Because what happens when you're riding too close to the car in front of you, that car obstructs your vision.
Yes.
Right. So that's how the first accident happened. Also, the second driver did not look closely in front of him, despite the cargo truck having had both the headlights and the hazards on.
So what set the third driver apart?
It seems that this was about timing. The judge who ruled on the case said that based on the dashboard camera footage, the victim was already likely dead when the final driver crashed into him.
Yes.
So it is hard to say when the third driver crashing into the scene adding to the accident would have caused the victim's death beyond reasonable doubt. So again, the important message that we all should take is if accidents or if your car stops, please get out of the way of the traffic and always look closely in front of you. Keep a safe distance between you and the car in front of you.
Yes, very important to keep in mind. All right, up next, this is a trend in retail and the restaurant industry. Local collaborations.
Right. So one major burger franchise in South Korea, the Golden Arches, they've been running collaborative projects with local cities or counties every year for quite a long time, actually, using the city's or county's local specialty ingredients and creating menus and burgers that reflect or use these ingredients.
Yes.
So according to the corporation yesterday, here's how each municipality, how much they secured in brand value. So Changyeong was at the top. Changyeong County at 42.5 billion won. Jindo County, 7.1 billion won. Jinju, 5.4 billion. And finally, Poseong, 1.7 billion won in the city's brand value. So this is what some Korean outlets have dubbed the loconomy or the local economy. For Changyeong, which showed, again, the highest results, it first directly made some 1.5 billion won in profits by selling their garlic to the corporation McDonald's Korea.
Okay.
As a result, the local farm saw a 390 million won in additional profits. And then on top of this, they also have had the added benefit of advertisement and promotional effects because, again, this is a nationwide campaign by one of the largest food franchises. And then on top of that, because they were able to sell more of these ingredients and produce, they spent less money on discarding them at the end of the season.
I see.
For instance, Jindo saved about 460 million won in not having to discard their leaks tepa last year.
Ah, interesting. So this is mutually beneficial for the corporations.
Right, absolutely. So because it goes in line with their ESG values and goals. So the country's largest coffee franchise, the Star something, they started developing local food menus back in 2016. They can sell them and profit off of them.
Oh.
Again, ESG. So it's all about mutual coexistence. So the SMEs Ministry, they've been running a local creators fostering project to support these small businesses. But here's the thing. What really sets small businesses versus these large corporations apart? But because these large corporations have these extensive systems, they can keep prices lower. So in terms of when it comes to price competitiveness, there are still gaps. So there are voices that call for further support in small businesses being able to keep costs down.
Yes, yes. Air rifles and bullets were found at a rundown factory. We need the details.
In South Korea, which, gun violence is very rare, but unfortunately, this is the second gun-related story in the past month or so that we've covered. So the police have launched an investigation into this kind of mysterious case because last week they found one air rifle and about 60 bullets plus some gunpowder inside a shutdown factory within the Guro industrial complex in Seoul. So the factory in question had been shut down for a while because there's actually a legal dispute going on that's been lengthy and over the ownership of the factory.
Right.
So the court, as a part of this lawsuit, they issued a seizure of the site and the owner of the factory hired an outside company to clean it out. So when the cleaners got there to kind of clean out the factory, they found the weapons.
Wow.
Right. So they soon promptly alerted the police. So the police have sent the bullet and the rifle to its own labs for analysis and the gunpowder to a nearby military base for analysis.
Okay, so we need to know. Who does the gun belong to?
Right, so that's a mystery. Well, the police suspect that the tenant of the factory, who's it's registered under a man in his 70s, may be the owner. However, the reason that it's suspected is because they haven't been able to track him down. He wasn't at his registered address, and the police haven't been able to contact him. So the police say that they suspect the gun to be an unregistered weapon, but they are opening up a possibility that because the potential owner is older, the gun could have been purchased when the gun registry wasn't digital. So there could be handwritten records somewhere that just never made it onto the digital database.
Okay.
So we'll have to see.
Yes, but still troubling.
Right. And we definitely want Korea to remain a gun-safe country.
Oh, of course. All right, up next, remember when there was like that huge controversy over vandalism of the Gyeongbokgung Palace walls? Listeners, do you remember this one? Well, it has happened again because someone has damaged the palace walls again. Okay,
don't write on public property to begin with, but especially not when this is priceless national treasure. So a man in his 70s wrote with a marker on the stone walls of Gwanghwamun, which is, of course, the entrance to the Gyeongbokgung Palace.
Yes.
So according to the Korea Heritage Service on Monday, they sent out a press notice about this. They caught a man who was vandalizing a stone wall or seokchuk of the gates leading into the palace.
Right.
So an employee of the palace was doing the morning rounds, patrolling the area when they found this 79-year-old man, surnamed Kim, writing on the walls. The police arrested him on the scene. So he was writing, it was kind of a lengthy message and fairly big. He was in the process of writing it. It said to the citizens and the global citizens.
Okay.
And was in the process of writing President Trump when he got caught.
Right.
So the writing was about 1.7 meters wide, about 30 centimeters tall. So this was a fairly big message.
So were they able to scrub it off, the writing?
Right. Thankfully, yes, but not easily. So the writing was quite large and the ink had begun to seep into the stones. Korea Heritage Service, the KHS, they fenced off the area.
Right.
So they sent in about 5 or 6 preservationists with the palace museums. These experts tried to chemically remove the ink. However, it didn't work. So after hours of trying, they had to bring in a laser to basically burn it off, essentially. By the way, this is not owned by the palace, so it costs quite a bit of money to rent it just for the day.
Yes. So if my count is correct, this is actually the third time someone has vandalized this precious national treasure.
Right. So if you remember, this was back in winter, late 2023, December, I believe. A man in his 30s bribed a teenager to vandalize the walls of the palace with spray paint. By the way, the man received a prison sentence and the teen also received a sentence.
Right.
And then there was a copycat crime. A man in his 20s subsequently followed that sentence to probation, especially when there is an entire system that's supposed to protect the national treasures.
Yes.
So the Heritage Service, they did heighten its nighttime patrols and installed CCTVs, but they were not able to catch the man. I mean, full credit, the patrol did catch him, but still he had written a full sentence and then some.
Right.
By the way, under the law, the authorities can request a vandal to pay the fees needed to restore the heritage, and it is a substantial fee. The head of the KHS said that they will have zero tolerance against these acts that damage national heritage.
Right. So definitely a big no-no.
Right.
All right, for our final story, we're going to go to the U.S. where the first Korean-American woman is being commemorated on a quarter for real.
So, right, a quarter is the 25-cent coin. It's one of the most widely circulated coins. So U.S. Mint, which mints currency, they create and distribute commemorative coins every year. So there are state coins, there are different individuals. And it announced that the 2025 American Women's Quarters will celebrate Stacey Park Milburn. So she's a visionary disability justice activist. So this American Women's Quarters, it honors a diverse group of notable American women who made significant contributions to a variety of social issues, including suffrage, which is women's voting rights, civil rights abolition, government, humanities, so on and so forth. And they do try to cover a diverse array of women, whether that be ethnic, racial, geographically. The program since 2022, it has issued 5 coins every year celebrating achievements of women pioneers.
What a great idea. Can you tell us more about who she was and what her life was like?
Right. So Stacey Park Milburn, she was born in 1987 to her father, who's a U.S. serviceman who was stationed in Korea, and her mother, Jean Milburn. She was diagnosed at birth with a degenerative muscle disease. So she grew up hearing her parents' encouragement, though, that she is not different from any other kids. But then in the 4th grade, she suffered this injury from a fall. And then this is when she really recognized that there are physical differences. So she started blogging because she was born in 87. So it's definitely of that generation about the inconveniences and injustices she experienced as someone who has a disability.
Yes.
And she pointed out the where things can improve. Her writing really resonated a lot with other people, and she gained recognition as a disability advocate. And then at the very young age of 20, in 2007, she played a key role in persuading the North Carolina state government to include disability history in the public high school curriculum.
Oh.
As a 20-year-old.
Wow.
She literally just graduated from high school. And then in 2014, then Obama administration appointed her to the President's Committee for People with Intellectual Disabilities.
Okay.
She battled cancer in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. But even then, she organized the distribution of masks and other essential supplies for vulnerable communities. She did die on May 19th of that year on her 33rd birthday.
Oh, so young.
So young, but such a meaningful life. She definitely dedicated her life to the issues that she was concerned about. By the way, she is the first Korean American individual to be minted on a U.S. coin. And U.S. Mint says that Stacey Park Milburn was a leader, a visionary, a problem solver, and a fierce, compassionate activist for social and disability justice.
Thank you for going over all the Woggly stories. And we'll be sure to check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.